I'm going to ask you a question, but you have to be honest with yourself. Do you believe that you are unique, that you're built for success, and that you've got something special? I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that yes, you're absolutely right. You are meant to be extraordinary. The bad news, though, is that this doesn't mean shit if you don't go out there and prove it. Most people, they believe that they're different, that they're meant for more, and that life should just hand them what they want. But the truth is, being different isn't about saying it or believing it. It's about doing the things that other people won't do. Most people want success, but they don't want to put in the work. Most people want the title of being successful, but they're not willing to put in the grind. And most people want the result, but they don't want to pay the price. That's why most people stay average. Because being different isn't just a mindset. It's a lifestyle. It's the choices you do when no one's watching. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. And it's doing the work that you feel like avoiding. You don't just wake up and say, I'm built different. You prove it to yourself every single day through every actions that you take. Luckily, if that's something that you want, I have 5 traits that if you want to embody being built different, this is what you need to do. The first thing is that being built different means that you're exceptional in some way. And one of the ways that you can distinguish yourself from other people is through your mindset. You need to have mental toughness and resiliency. And if you've been in the self-improvement world, one of the first people that can come to mind when you think about mental toughness is David Goggins. He's the author of the book Can't Hurt Me. And I remember reading that book a couple years ago, and I was like, that was the perfect inspiration of how you can face any challenge, and it's all in the mind. If you truly want to understand what it means to be resilient, there's no YouTube video that's going to explain that as properly as simply just reading his book, Can't Hurt Me. But I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight what it's about. Goggins, he had a really tough background. He grew up in an abusive home. He faced a lot of bullying. He struggled with his health and his weight. I mean, he was really fat. But despite all the challenges that came in his way, he did not let that define him. At first, he might have. He had a victim mentality, but he turned his life around once he started applying to the military. Eventually, he became a Navy SEAL. That's one of the toughest military jobs out there. And then he went on to set a tons of endurance records. He can run for days. His mantra is simple, yet so powerful. When you think you're done, you're only 40% done. He always ends up his videos on YouTube, if you watch any motivational videos from him, by saying, stay hard. For Goggins, challenges and adversity wasn't something to shy away from. It was fuel to his fire. So someone who is built different is not someone who plays the victim. It's someone who handles adversity in a way that other people can't. So when things are difficult in your life, are you going to shy away from it, or are you going to face it head on? If you don't know me, my name is Bianca St. George, and I'm a professional soccer player. And I have faced tons of adversities in my life to be at the level I'm at today. There was a particular month in 2023 that was the hardest month of my life. And the reason why it was so difficult is because I faced 3 big life challenges all at once. The first thing that happened is my mom got diagnosed with cancer. And anyone that has dealt with a family sickness knows how difficult that can be. After that, I was dating my boyfriend for 3 years back in the day, and he became addicted to substances and alcohol. And I had found him half alive trying to save his life. I'm laughing because it's a stressful moment. So having him going to rehab and treatment was very difficult as well. And then finally, in that same week, I get a phone call from the national team saying that I got cut and I will not go to the World Cup, something I had worked on for the past year and a half. So May 2023 was brutal. And as much as I wanted to curl up and feel like life was super unfair, I knew that that was a pivotal time in my life. And I embraced the fuck out of it. I'm not kidding. I was like, this is the opportunity that everyone talks about, that you can literally let that control your destiny, or you can take it by the balls and create your own. I decided that that would not define my story, and I would do my best to control what I can and get the most out of the situation. Control the controllable. Eventually, my mom got better. My ex-boyfriend also got better. And now I'm back on the national team. If I would have given up in the face of adversity back then, where would I be right now? Probably not in the same confidence or mental space. I know that the way that I handled it made me wiser, made me more prepared for the future, made me feel like I was actually built different, because I know that that situation would have put people to the ground. But I wanted to be built different, and it was a choice, and it's also the way that I showed up every single day to prove to myself that I could handle it. So if ever you're in a situation right now where you're facing challenges, I want you to realize that you don't have to be a victim to it. You have power. You have the ability to control your response. And there are things that you cannot control. Just accept that. I could not control the fact that my mom got sick. I could not control the fact that my ex was addicted. But I could control how I would handle the situation. And that ability to choose wisely in my response is what made me grow as a person. And now I can feel literally that I can go through anything, because that made me so resilient. Now, the second way to be built different is by distinguishing yourself through a unique skill or talent. Look, I know you might not think that you have a talent right now, but I promise you that you do. The talent that you have is probably simply quieted or humbled by people in your youth authority telling you to stay humble, to quiet down, and just don't try to stand out. There are things that are unique to you that needs to come to the surface, because I truly believe that you are gifted. I really meant it at the beginning of my video when I said that you are meant to be extraordinary. Every human being has so much potential. Every human being has the desire to self-actualize. And if you're here, it's because you also have that desire. And if you have that desire, that means you have what it takes to get there. The people that will never get there is the people that aren't even aware that they can even reach a different potential for themselves. But you're aware that you have potential. And once you're aware, that means that you are destined to go after it. You will always regret playing small. So you need to figure out, what is that one thing about you that is your special skill or talent? And oftentimes people think of that as something physical, like painting or playing soccer in my case. But it can be some soft skills, like your ability to collaborate and do teamwork, or your ability to be an empathetic listener. Those are very important. But I'm going to give you a little secret here. I believe that your talent is not something that you do. Your actual talent will be mastering who you are. Self-mastery. Because once you truly know who you are and what your strengths are, and you find a way to elevate that, you become unstoppable. Because there is no one that shares the same DNA as you. So you are the most unique person that there is. But the reason why you don't stand out is because you are afraid of what people think of you. You try to conform to what everybody else wants from you. You are the reflection of other people's desires because of the social media you consume. But if you take the time to really understand who you are and what you can bring, that makes you a weapon. I'm starting to realize this for myself. When I moved here to North Carolina a year ago, there was a teammate that invited me to go to the hockey game. And I went to watch the Hurricanes play, and there were two other new teammates that I haven't met ever before. And one of those teammates is Danny, and she is right now one of my best friends. But back then, we immediately clicked. We were able to speak. We were on the same wavelength. And it got me really comfortable in being who I am. And by the end of the conversation, Danny looked at me and she said, "Bianca, I feel like I had all these little passions inside of me that just got brought back to life. That comment has stuck with me so much because that was exactly my intention. When I was talking to her, I was trying to elevate her. I was trying to inspire her. I was trying to make her realize the things that she loved that needs to be awakened. And she felt that. And that was such a positive reinforcement that I need to keep doing that. And before that, I was in a different environment, and it's almost like you weren't tested as much because you were always around the same people. But because now I was in a new environment, I was able to test my knowledge on new people and in a new environment. And I could see that I can make an impact on someone's life. And then I have other examples. I have a teammate that I haven't spoken to in forever, and suddenly she reaches out to me. Her name's Julia, and she's like, "Hey Bianca, I have a huge life decision right now and I really need your help." I was like, "Yeah, I'm all here for you." And so we went through this whole life decision together, which is so strange because we never really talk. And she came to me with this big decision. A couple weeks later, the same thing happened with a different teammate. She was a new girl on the team and she had the opportunity to stay or leave, and she needed to make a decision, and she calls me. And just so you know, I'm not someone that really tries to foster relationships because outside of soccer, I'm really focused on you, basically. I'm not really focused on my teammates. But this new girl reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I really value your advice. Can you help me make this decision if I should leave this club or not?" Another thing happened when someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, I just wanted to ask you this question because I feel like you're my therapist." People that I meet in my building, they want to hire me for their job when I have no experience in their job, but because I'm so interested in what they do and I ask the right questions and I give them ideas, they think that I know more than what I do. So what am I telling you right now? Why am I giving you all these examples? It's because I'm being self-aware, reflecting on things that I get complimented on, and realize that I thrive in one-on-one conversations. That is my thing. When you have me one-on-one, that is me being at my best. That is my talent. And I know it sounds funny because it's not a talent that you can showcase, but that's the misconception that we have. We think that this talent should be this thing that is physical that we can see, but my talent is one-on-one conversations. So might as well do more of that. I'm offering coaching now because I know that I'm good at that. That's the best thing that I can do. And that starts by putting yourself out there to talk about the things you want to talk about, to try and be of service to other people. You being talented has an impact on other people. What is that thing for you? So I'm just here to try to give you ideas. But just try to reflect back on what is that one thing about you that makes you stand out? What comes natural to you? What is easy for you to do? Because you have the little clues that tells you exactly what you need to elevate. And if you find a way to make that at the forefront of who you are, you will be built different. Because no one can outcompete someone that is passionate about what they do. Now, the third thing to be built different is all about your work ethic. So people that go above and beyond in terms of effort are known to be built different, because nowadays no one is willing to put in the work. No one is willing to put in the hours, the dedication, the focus to have some standout results. And this is such an easy example to give you. I'm going to give you the example of Kobe Bryant. And if you know me, you know how much I love Kobe. He was such an inspiration to me. If you don't know Kobe, he was one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But he wasn't only known because he had talent. He was known especially because he had an unmatched work ethic. He also had this thing called Mamba mentality, and that was his mindset regarding how he trained. It allowed him to continuously improve and rest at the end. While most players would take breaks in between practices and stuff, Kobe would always show up hours before and after doing the extra work. And he didn't only do work into his physical play, he put work into his mental preparations, into watching film, watching his opponents, watching his own practices. He went the extra mile. And I think this is so inspiring because if you don't know what you're good at, if you don't know what your talent is or what you're meant to do, just outwork everybody. And that will get you places. People are not willing to work hard anymore. It's so easy nowadays to play it easy because everything is made for us to be comfortable. So if you just do a little bit more and work harder than other people, you will be built different because you're already going to be 99% ahead of the other people. And the reason why I love Kobe's story so much is because it made me feel so validated. Look, I know I'm a professional soccer player right now, but there's a misconception that professional athletes have always wanted to become one. I did not grow up knowing that this was even a possibility. I didn't even know people had this as a job. And to put a little bit more perspective, I didn't even have cable. I didn't even have TV. I couldn't even watch soccer games. That was just not in my mind. That's not something I dreamt to do. So when I became a little bit more competitive with the sport and I started playing at a higher level, it was around age 9. And I remember I came into this new field. It was 15 minutes away from my house, which felt really far. And it's so ironic because now I go across the country or I go to Australia for some games. But it felt really far. And I remember to make the team, we had to do a juggling test. The teammates I was around could do 10, sometimes 15. There was always one kid that could do an infinite amount. And I got 3. And it wasn't 3 clean ones. It was 1 kick in the air, 1 I slid my leg down, and the other one a little bounce. And I was like, 3! I sucked at being technical. And I felt like I was so behind everybody else. But I still made the team. And the reason why I made the team is because I was good at one thing. It's to work unbelievably hard. I would outrun everyone. I would use my body. I would be as physical as possible because that's the only thing I knew I could control. I was so bad at actually playing soccer. I just knew how to work hard. And that got me places. And still to this day, I believe that the reason why I am a pro now is because I knew how to work hard. I'm still not the most technical. I did have to get better at that. I have another story that I'm not going to share about a time where I started to work on my technical abilities because if not, I wasn't going to make it. But still, I never lost that work ethic. Because I knew that I started behind and I had a chip on my shoulder and I wanted to prove that it didn't matter where I came from or the resources I had or the inspiration I had or the coaches I had or a parent that made me do practices at home. It didn't matter all that because I could always control my effort. And the people that I know that were so good at their technical abilities back then when I was 9 years old, today I'm the only one that's a professional. And as Kobe says, hard work beats talent every time. The 4th way to be built different is through confidence and self-awareness, meaning that people who are built different often have a strong sense of self. They know what they're capable of and they're not afraid to show it. But did you hear the key difference here? They not only have confidence, it's not blind confidence. It has to be self-awareness. It's being aware of who you are. And I kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier, but we're going to dive into this a little bit more in this point. And when you are confident with self-awareness, that is what allows you to perform at a higher level. And the example I'm going to use here is Oprah. I was going to use Serena Williams because I love her as well, but I wanted to give you a different example than sports. So if you know about Oprah, you definitely do. You know that her story was not an easy path. The reason why I chose Oprah is because I got inspired by a passage I read in a book that I'm currently reading. The book I'm reading right now is called The Storyteller's Secrets. And the passage about Oprah was kind of going a little bit into her background, how she had a traumatic childhood, she grew up in abuse and poverty. Yet she always knew that she had a unique voice and perspective, and she was not afraid to show it. In the book, it mentioned that before she went on TV, she used to be a journalist. But when she was in that role, she said, "I am not passionate about interviewing people. I am passionate about elevating people's consciousness." How bold is that? It takes guts to say that. It's unique and ambitious. But because she knew herself well enough, and she was assertive, and she knew she was able to connect with people, she was able to make that be what made her stand out amongst all the other people on television. She had a deeper mission. And to have that confidence to go out and believe that you can do such mission, she admits that it came from two things: facing her fears and being authentic. So let's talk about facing your fears. There are so many fears that you probably have right now. And if you don't think you do, okay, like you have to take your pride aside and realize that you are scared of a lot of things. And you have to stop bullshitting yourself anymore, because you not admitting that to yourself is just holding you back. I'm still scared of posting on social media. Even though I've been posting for a while, I'm still scared because what if I say something that gets me canceled? What if I don't know, say something that offends someone when I didn't mean to? Or what if I look stupid? I don't know. There's so many reasons why I'm scared to show up on social media. But the thing is, if I'm being who I am, there's nothing to be afraid of. What is different of me showing up on social media than me showing up as me in front of my friends or my coworkers or people I meet on the street? It's the same thing. I'm just exposing myself to more people. And not everyone's going to like me anyways. But what's important is the people that do like me. And I'm going to nurture those relationships, because those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones that we feel aligned and we can build a community together. That's all I care about, is the people and the mission that is all one. So whatever fears you have right now, just know you need to pursue exactly that. You need to face your fears, because you facing them head on is what makes you confident. You don't have to wait to be confident to do things. You become confident by doing things, by realizing that they're only as scary and as big as you make it seem to be. But once you actually do it, it's never as bad as you think. And if you are someone that also wants to show up on social media, just remind yourself this: the people that judge you are the people that don't have the courage to go on social media. So you don't care about those people. And you know who will support you? People like me, because I know what it's like to go on social media and how uncomfortable that is. I will be there to encourage you. And those are the type of people that matter. You will find your people, but those people cannot find you if you don't go out there and show the world who you are. And that kind of ties into her other thing when she said to embrace your authenticity. There's no point of you hiding who you are, of pretending that you're someone else than who you are. People want to like you because you're you. We can smell inauthenticity miles away. You need to be proud of your story, your upbringing. You know, I don't think I talk about my upbringing nearly as much as I should. You probably don't even know that I grew up on a farm. And I know that has shaped me so much to be who I am today. Like the struggles, the beauty, the community, all of that is so important. And it's been a reason why I am the way that I am right now. I need to own my stories. And there's nothing to be ashamed of from where you've been, because all that matters is who you are right now. And who you are right now is the result of your whole life story. So be proud of that. Be proud of your flaws because it makes you relatable. Be proud of your strength because it makes you admirable. You being you is the best thing that you can give to the world. So if you want to be built different, have the confidence in who you are, but the self-awareness to know your shortcomings so you don't pretend to be someone that you're not. Finally, the last way to be built different is through non-conformity. To be built different, you cannot follow the status quo. I love this point, and you're going to understand why. You need to be someone that refuses to follow the usual path and instead take a unique approach to life. When you don't fit into what people expect from you, you have the freedom to innovate and actually have extraordinary success because you're doing things differently. I always love to think about extreme behaviors lead to extreme results. So it's okay to be extreme. People will try to make you balanced and average. And it's okay to be that way if that's what you want. But I know you want your life to look differently than most people. So you're going to have to do things differently. So last week, I finished one of the best books I've ever read. Steve Jobs' biography. I spent 2 hours every day reading the book for 2 weeks straight. It was a big ass book. But it has been a long time since I felt this inspired. And he exemplifies what it's like to not fit the mold, to not conform to the status quo. For example, when he went to college, Steve Jobs was required to take classes. If you remember, when you go to college, you're required to take a science class, an English class, whatever. And he was like, why would I have to take those classes? I'm not interested in that. And they would just reply, you have to. It's part of the curriculum. So he said, well, I'm going to drop out then. He dropped out of college because he did not want to be forced to take classes he wasn't interested in. But he made a deal. He said, can I still come to school and go to the classes I'm interested to, but just simply not graduate from this college? And they agreed, partially because it was the 70s, so you had room for exceptions like that, but also because they found him pretty interesting. So I'm going to fast forward a decade now, and Steve Jobs created the Macintosh. There was one unique feature in the Macintosh that was different than all the other computers. It had the ability to have multiple fonts. And the reason why he was able to create such innovation was because he took a calligraphy class when he was in college. When he could do whatever classes he wanted to, there was one semester he was roaming around, he saw a flyer about a calligraphy class, and he decided to take it. Little did he know that that would be the basis of Apple fonts. And he has this famous quote, you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And that is one of the reasons why he is so successful. He did things because it felt right, even though it did not follow what everybody else was doing. So if you have an itch, a desire to do things a little bit differently, but you're only holding yourself back because you're afraid of what people will think, or because it's not how normally things are done, but you have this drive that's pulling you in a direction, telling you to do a certain thing, you should follow that voice. It is a gift. For example, right now, I'm currently learning a language. I'm learning Russian. There's not really a valid reason why I'm learning Russian right now. Everyone that finds that out, they're like, oh, why aren't you learning Spanish? And although Spanish is an interesting language and it's a beautiful language and it would be very useful, for some reason, I have a pull to learn Russian. So I've been doing it for a year now. I have a tutor and we meet and I've made progress and I don't really know where it's taking me. But all I know is that Steve Jobs has done similar things and eventually he was able to connect the dots. So I'm just leaving it to fate that's going to dictate what this all means. But I'm following my inner core that's telling me that this feels right. If you want to be built different, you just got to do things differently. And it's fun to be different. And once you start doing things differently here and there, you reinforce that behavior and it becomes addicting. And people will start viewing you as being built different, and it will encourage you to keep going, and you will see you will stand out from the crowd. So to summarize, there are 5 ways to be built different. It's through mental toughness and resiliency, through your unique skill or talent, with your work ethic, with your confidence and self-awareness, and then finally, through non-conformity. Most people will listen to all of this and do nothing. But if you want to be built different, prove it. Now, thank you so much for listening until the end of the video. If you want to surround yourself with a like-minded community, please join us in the first link in the description. I'll see you very soon. Mwah.